Mayor de Blasio, First Lady Charlene McCray, and Education Chancellor Richard Carranza are at Brooklyn Arts and Science Elementary School right now. They're there to announce a new agreement that could overhaul status quo security practices throughout the New York City school system. First, a few New York City school alum are speaking, so let's listen in.
Micaiah, I don't think you have to worry about becoming a leader of tomorrow. I think you're a leader of today already. Thank you for your passionate leadership. For so many others, I want to say to all the student activists and leaders in the room, we heard you, your voices mattered, your ideas mattered, and we're here today because of your great work. Everyone give each other a round of applause for that. And Belmaris, thank you for your great work as an educator. We honor you, we thank you. I thought that was a clear and passionate explanation of why social emotional learning matters so much. Thank you for making it so real and pertinent to everybody. The message today is we are all in this together. Students, educators, administrators, parents, the entire city government, all the people in New York City, we're in this together. Now, since we're in this together, I think we can agree on something right here, right now. This announcement today is very hot. It is a hot announcement. Everyone agree with that? Hot, important announcement. It's also hot in here. So, if you have a jacket, you can take off. I want to say to the distinguished group to my left, I am going to lead the way. It's up to you. If you want to sweat, that's your thing. Okay? I am not going to go through that. But the real point is the ideas are hot, the progress is hot, and people worked hard. This was an example of listening to a lot of people. Our educators, front line, the folks who make such an impact for our children, they had so much to offer here in thinking about how to get it right. Our parents, who see what their kids need, they had so much to say. This came from a lot of hard work and smart work and a lot of listening. And the idea of this announcement today follows on a series of other things we've done. It is to shake the foundations of our school system. Because I think one thing that would unite a lot of us is to say that for too long our school system didn't get it right. And for too long people's voices weren't heard. And we were missing out on so many opportunities to do better. I said at the very beginning, we were missing it on early childhood education for decades. Now we have pre-K for all, and soon we're going to have 3K for all. We were missing out on college readiness. We have a long way to go. We had the most kids go on to higher education last year that we've ever had in our history. For too many years, we were losing kids. They were dropping out. They weren't able to get to the finish line. Last year, we had the highest graduation rate, the lowest dropout rate in our history. And everyone here had a lot to do with that. It was also an extraordinary group effort. But it became clearer and clearer that we couldn't go to the next level without really doubling down on social emotional learning. That was a piece that was missing, and it's missing, honestly, pretty much all over the United States of America. And we have an opportunity to get it right here in the nation's largest city. And we have an opportunity to set a new pace for this city and for this country by finally recognizing the whole child, everything going on in their life. It was also about having a very different conversation about emotional well-being and a very different conversation about mental health. And not acting like these things were not part of people's everyday lives and what they needed to have out in front, out in the open. And this, you may have from time to time heard me praise our First Lady. You may have heard that. Well, I'm going to praise her again, because when she started this work in 2015 on Thrive, the idea was to take down that stigma that was holding us back, dismantle that stigma, and open up a conversation and change this city, change hearts, change minds, save lives. And that's what our First Lady has done. That's what Thrive has done. And it started with making sure that every single school, 1,800 schools, every single school had access to mental health professionals, something that was unheard of in the past, but Thrive achieved that. But now we have to go farther, and the idea today is to take that idea that Thrive has made so central and infuse it into everything we do in our schools, revolutionize the way we think about education and our children by talking about all of them, everything about them, what they need to succeed today and in their future. Many, many people have contributed to getting us to today. I want to shout out some names, and you can clap energetically for all of them. The director of Thrive NYC, Susan Herman, thank you. Deputy Chancellor for School Climate and Wellness, LaShawn Robinson, thank you. All right. I think they like you, LaShawn. They like you. They really, really like you. So, someone who has done tremendous dialogue and listening to help ensure that educators and public safety officers were all on the same page. Assistant Chief at NYPD for School Safety, Ruben Beltran, thank you. A leader in our government who fought tirelessly for the new social workers, and that is because he was a teacher himself. He understands it. The chair of our Education Committee, Councilmember Mark Traeger. The folks who did the work day by day to get the policies right, to really listen, to really hone in on what we needed, all the members of the mayor's leadership team on school climate and discipline, thank them all. And no one will be offended if I say I saved the best for last. Our youth leaders. First of all, thank you, Urban Youth Collaborative. It's so damn hot in here. The Dignity in Schools Coalition, thank you. And Integrate NYC, thank you. And so the idea from the beginning was to hear people in a new way. Charlene, when she started Thrive, went and listened to people all over the city for almost a year, and what she heard consistently was people were suffering in silence because they had a mental health challenge. Young people felt unheard. They felt their lives were not being reflected in their schools. Thrive was all about breaking down those barriers, and Charlene and I had a powerful experience after the tragedy in Parkland, Florida. We convened a town hall meeting with students, with student leaders and activists. And what we heard from them, the topic, of course, was to react to this extremely painful moment in our nation's history. And it was, you would think on the surface, just about gun violence, but what it turned into was a much deeper conversation about what our young people needed. And at one point, Charlene asked them, several hundred students, what they felt about mental health, what they needed, and hands went up and stories were told, people spoke from the heart, young people spoke from the heart, and they said they needed more social workers. They said they needed more people in the school who would understand them and listen to them. More people had the tools to help them. They said they needed their teachers to get the support and training to be able to help them with their challenges. We heard it loud and clear. So, for too long, in fact, not only were students left out there without the support and the tools, our teachers were left out there without the support and the tools. They wanted, I've talked to so many teachers, so many educators for years and years, They always want to go to the next level. They always want to reach every child. They feel they're putting everything they got on the line every day, but a lot of times they feel there's not the backup they need to achieve the mission. I tell you, no one wants those social workers more than our teachers, because it's going to make a huge difference for them. It's going to help them do the job they came here to do. This is a moment of change. This is a moment where students are going to get the support they need to be their best selves. Teachers are going to get the tools they need to help a child, the whole child, when there's a challenge or a problem. It's going to help us build a stronger and fairer city. Before a few words in Spanish, I have a very simple quote here that epitomizes why we are making this investment. And you're going to hear from the speaker in a moment, and I want to say right up front, this was such a priority for the City Council, such a focus for them, and I commend them. It is something the Council should be so proud of. But I listened to the speaker, I listened to council members. I think this quote epitomizes so much of what you feel. And it's from another century, so I'm going to read it in its original, but the last word could be, obviously, people. And it comes from Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." That's what today is all about. En Spanish, hoy anunciamos un programa que llevará educación socioemocional a todos los alumnos de nuestras escuelas públicas. Ellos nos dijeron lo que necesitan y los estamos escuchando. Este es un momento de cambio, cuando nuestros estudiantes deben saber pueden contar con la ayuda que necesitan. With that, I'm going to turn to my partner in all things, but she has led the way. She has open mind. She has shown us that something could happen very, very different in this city, and this is a day she has been talking about over the breakfast, dinner, everything, in the car. She has been talking about this day for a long time, and she knew it would come, and she led the way to this moment. Our First Lady, Charlene McCray.
Thank you, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. It may be a gray and cloudy day outside, but I think we're all feeling our inner sun with this hot announcement and this plan that will transform our school environments. I want to say before I begin that yes, I am a champion for SEL, for restorative justice, have been for years and years, but this would not have been possible without everyone that our mayor just named, but also Sanford Harmony. That was actually the component that helped give us more of the support and the structure that we needed to make sure that we could do a comprehensive plan from, we're starting in pre-K all the way through K. So thank you, Dr. Cunningham, who's here representing Sanford Harmony, and you'll be hearing from him in a little bit. The pre-K and through 12th grade strategy that we are implementing is totally in keeping with what we know about child development and gives our educators much more support. Now, most of us didn't grow up thinking about strengthening and maintaining our mental health as a work in progress the way we do our bodies, but we can. There are skills we can learn to help us regulate our emotions, have more rewarding relationships, and cope with stress and conflict all throughout our lives. And these skills are important for all of us, but they're especially important for our children who are just starting out in life. When we created Thrive NYC, one of our goals was to act early. That's one of our principles. Not only to prevent illness and intervene at the first signs of disease, but to provide more children with a strong social-emotional foundation to promote resilience. Educators in our pre-K classrooms are already emphasizing social-emotional learning to help our youngest New Yorkers. By building this foundation early, children develop stronger communication, decision-making, and problem-solving abilities, lifelong skills that we all need every day. Students who receive social-emotional training feel the benefits throughout their lives. They are better learners. They are better able to manage stress and less likely to struggle with drug use. They develop more positive attitudes, show better behavior in school, and their academic performance improves as well. Now, thanks to years of work and advocacy by so many people, including, of course, many young people who are here today, New York City schools will have the most comprehensive and proactive approach to social emotional learning in the nation. And that's so important, I'm going to repeat it in Spanish. Las escuelas de nuestra ciudad tendrán el enfoque más completo y proactivo a la educación socioemocional en nuestro país. Over the next 3 years, in partnership with National University and Long Island University, we will bring a nationally respected social emotional learning teaching program called Sanford Harmony into every elementary school in the city. Yeah. Now, Chancellor Carranza and I just saw the program in action with a wonderful group of kindergartners, which is one of the reasons why we're both in such terrific moods. We read a book about school year memories, and the kids told us what Z, the main character, was feeling. Interactive stories like this are one of the many ways children learn how to recognize and name their own emotions. As students mature, as they get older, we want them to continue growing and strengthening their social emotional skills. That's why in every middle school and high school, a restorative justice curriculum will guide students to look more closely at their own experiences and provide them with support to solve problems and manage difficult emotions. Restorative justice gives students opportunities to come together and learn to be open and accountable to themselves, their classmates, and the entire school community. Let me share an example. At Meyer Levin Junior High School in East Flatbush, the entire 6th grade gathers for a town hall meeting every day. They cheer on each other's successes and support one another through struggles. When one student shared her worries about the results of her grandmother's custody hearing, there was no jeering or taunting. Her classmates responded with empathy and encouragement. We all need this kind of support sometimes. Most of us know what it's like to try and focus at work while worried about a sick child, or if we're distracted by an argument with a spouse. Well, some students walk into the classroom with tremendous pain or emotional distress. Maybe a fight with a friend left them angry. Maybe they are fearful that their family will be evicted from their home, or they are grieving the loss of a family member or a friend. Without the skills and the safe space to talk through how they are feeling, they might express their emotions by withdrawing and not participating in class, or by drawing attention to themselves with disruptive behavior. I know this well from my own childhood experience. Children have to feel like they can talk about what they are feeling. The appropriate question to ask in these cases isn't, "What's wrong with you?" The question to ask is, "What happened to you? Why are you feeling this way?" As we proactively provide skills and support for students to help them deal with negative emotions constructively before they become a problem, we will also encourage young people to be accountable for their actions, take ownership, and make things right when they make a mistake. We have already seen a dramatic decrease in suspensions in schools that use restorative justice, and we expect more of the same system-wide. This new approach will enhance learning in the classroom and lessen the time spent out of the classroom, especially for students of color who are suspended at higher rates than their peers. I am delighted, truly delighted, to say that thanks to Speaker Johnson and the New York City Council's leadership that we will add 85 Thrive social workers to help support children in serious emotional distress. And in partnership with the United Federation of Teachers, our highest need middle schools will train every adult in the school community to support the emotional needs of students, even those in crisis, through the Positive Learning Collaborative model. That means not only principals and teachers will be trained, but cafeteria and custodial staff, receptionists, and classroom aides as well. All these adults touch a child's life. You don't know who a child is going to be talking to or bonding with. It's important for all adults in a child's life to have these skills and be able to reinforce what they're learning. Together, these changes will make our schools better places to learn and better prepare our students to succeed in every aspect of their lives, from the workplace to their relationships, to their physical health and home life. Parents count on schools to help their children grow into healthy, well-adjusted adults, able to navigate the world effectively. But we all benefit when we invest in our young people. Nuestras escuelas ofrecerán ahora una educación más completa que prepara mejor a nuestros niños para triunfar en cada aspecto de sus vidas. Todos ganamos cuando invertimos en nuestros jóvenes. I want to thank you again to everyone who is here today. You can see it really did take a village to pull this one off. And I can't thank you enough for getting us to this announcement. This is a giant step for our children, and we're not finished yet. So thank you.
I'll be quick now. I'm going to introduce our Chancellor. This is someone who truly believes and has believed throughout his career in the power of social emotional learning, and you're helping to make it happen in the nation's largest city, Chancellor Richard Carranza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for being here. I recognize so many faces. Just last night at our public education panel meeting, we had a dedicated group of educators and community people that dutifully every month come and remind us about how important this issue is. And I was biting my tongue. I couldn't say a word last night, but they said, we need this now, and today is now. So thank you for being there. And everybody's commented about the heat. Look, I was born in Arizona. This is just a nice spring day. And just think of it as an opportunity for self-moisturizing in your face, okay? That's how we get through it. You like that? Okay. So obviously, I want to also thank Speaker Johnson, who's been just an incredible partner in this work. I want to thank President Mulgrew from UFT, obviously Dr. Cunningham, our education chair in the City Council, just a true warrior for children. Mark Traeger, thank you. Susan, thank you for your work with Thrive. Chief Beltran, my brother, thank you. He can also sing and dance, by the way. I don't know if you know this. But my friends, there is a group that I also want to recognize, because we have made it a focus that we will not only hear our student voices, we will give them a place at the table, and we will have their policy recommendations reflected, and today is a reflection of their policy recommendations. So I also want to thank Teens Take Charge, who are here today as well. And I'm going to be brief, but I just want to say this. I've lived and worked now in 5 states. I've lived and worked in 5 urban school systems. And I am so proud of the colleagues that I have here that form part of my cabinet. They are the most knowledgeable, the most passionate. They are the best qualified, no matter what anybody says, to lead this work. And when I arrived and this work was stuck, they were the group of educators and leaders that unstuck the work, that listened to our community, and here we are today. So I want to recognize, you've heard our Deputy Chancellor for School Claimant and Wellness, LaShawn Robinson. Our Deputy Chancellor for Community, not Engagement, Community Empowerment, Partnerships and Communication, Hydra Mendoza. Our first Deputy Chancellor who is leading with distinction and with such incredible integrity, Cheryl Watson-Harris. Our Chief Operating Officer, Ursulina Ramirez. Our Deputy Chancellor for School Planning and Development, Karen Goldmark. My Chief of Staff, Edie Sharp. And all of my colleagues from the Department of Education who believe, Mark Rappersand's here, thank you, sir, who believe in this work, not because it's work, it's the right thing to do. So from the very first day, I would say the very first conversation that I had with Mayor de Blasio and the First Lady, it was clear to me how much they cared about our students, but it was also clear to me that when the First Lady and I spoke about the importance of social emotional learning, there was a certain glee in her eye. She has been leading our city and our nation in destigmatizing mental health and expanding mental health and social emotional supports. She and I spoke at length about the role of that work in our schools and how it must be proactive and preventative and give students and teachers the tools that they need to not only reflect upon what they do, but to have the tools and the training to change the way we work with our students. Needless to say, I'm thrilled to be here today. Today we're coming together around a simple but a common sense approach. When we support the whole child and foster safe and supportive learning environments, our students will succeed. When we keep students in the classroom instead of relying on suspensions, they will succeed. And they're more than just ideas. You see, these are proven approaches that we know work. Right here in New York City, if you look at District 16, they've led the way. These ideas and approaches work. I've also seen these ideas and approaches work across the country, like in Oakland, where implementation of restorative justice led to a drop in the rate of students being suspended from more than 40% to 4% in just 6 years. We know that it works here in New York City with a 12% decrease in suspensions that have implemented a district-wide restorative model. This administration has championed social-emotional learning and restorative approaches from day one. Yet skeptics have said, if you move away from punitive approaches and focus on keeping kids in schools while also holding them accountable, our schools will be less safe. I say that is a false narrative. It is not true. And that's what has not happened here in New York City. So under the leadership of this mayor, Mayor de Blasio, suspensions have gone down 31%, and NYPD has seen a 29% decrease in major crimes in schools. So it's the proof that this approach can work, and it's common sense. If students learn how to resolve conflicts and build relationships with each other and with staff members, they're less likely to act out. Skeptics said if you move away from punitive approaches and focus on keeping students in the classroom while holding them accountable, academic outcomes will decline. Well, we're showing that's not true in New York City. Graduation and college readiness rates are at record highs, and dropout rates at record lows, and test scores continue to improve. Again, it's common sense. If students will achieve academically when they're excelling socially and emotionally. So today we are doubling down and formally expanding our social-emotional learning and restorative justice work to reach every school, not some of the schools, every school in the largest school system in America, right here in New York City. Let me emphasize this, that as much as this approach makes sense based on the research, based on New York City statistics, I know as a former classroom teacher and a principal that when we make major policy change, we need to give our practitioners the resources they need to make it work. So I want to thank Mayor de Blasio, I want to thank our First Lady for that focus today. I want to thank our City Council and our Speaker for prioritizing that. Not just an idea, but the nitty-gritty how we support our educators to make it a success. And today, I also need to give a shout out because I'm excited to announce that we're deepening our partnership with the NYPD in our schools through a new Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU that changes the patrol guide. And I want to thank Police Commissioner O'Neill, and I want to thank Chief Beltran for your partnership. Now, my friends, I know for a fact that not every police officer has an MOU in their back pocket. and looks at the MOU. But what I can tell you is that every police officer has a patrol guide. So for this change in how police are in our schools to be in the patrol guide is a seminal moment in our history in New York City. And I want to thank the commissioner and our chief for making that happen. So today is a big step forward. It's a big step forward for restorative practices and creating those environments in our schools that we know is an enlightened approach and not a punitive approach. My friends, this is the work. Now is the time. We are the people. So let's go and get to work and make sure our communities are the enlightened, supportive, great communities that we're building for today and for tomorrow. Solamente quiero decir en español que hoy es un día gigantísimo para nuestra comunidad. Este es el día que hemos soñado, que hemos esperado, que hemos luchado, que hemos tenido en nuestros sueños que llegaría algún día. Este es el día. Es el día en cuanto estudiantes van a quedarse en las escuelas y no van a ser desalojados afuera de nuestras escuelas. Es el día en que nuestros maestros y nuestros directores van a tener no tan solo el entrenamiento, sino que los recursos para cambiar el modo de tratar con nuestros estudiantes en nuestras escuelas. Este es un día gigantísimo y gracias a todas las voces que han hecho posible este día tan maravilloso para los estudiantes de nuestra ciudad. Muchísimas gracias, señor alcalde, la señora primera señora, a todos los que están aquí presentes, gracias por su ayuda, gracias por su apoyo y a trabajar.
All right, we were just listening in there on Mayor de Blasio, First Lady Charlene McCray, and Education Chancellor Richard Carranza at the Brooklyn Arts and Science Elementary School, announcing plans to overhaul the current security and social practices throughout the New York City school system.